The first time the King has seen his younger son's family in more than 4 years. Joining us now is Louise Roberts, Sky News contributor. This meeting took place at Highgrove House, according to Buckingham Palace, but it's interesting, we don't have any photographs.
No.
I wonder why that is.
I think that's very deliberate. I see this whole meeting less a family reunion and more of a test as to whether Charles can actually trust his younger son again. I don't think they'll ever trust Meghan again, but I think he's very keen to build a relationship with Harry. And the choice of Highgrove, I think, is very significant. I mean, this is Charles's private home, so it's on complete lockdown. He controls every aspect of it. And don't forget, this is where he used to meet Camilla back in the day when he was married to Diana. So It is his private sanctuary. So the fact that he wanted the meeting there and he was agreeable to a meeting, which I think is significant, the fact that he didn't just dismiss Harry and Meghan and the children, he did want to see them. But it's a lot different from having it at, say, Buckingham Palace or Clarence House, also at his disposal. Highgrove is interesting because the lack of photographs, I think, is very significant. Whether they were allowed to take pictures on the day themselves on their phones, we don't know. But given where Highgrove is, the royal staff and indeed Charles and Camilla know exactly where to stand on that property so they don't get photographed by any paps who may be nearby. There's a public road near the estate. It's just outside of, it's mainly sort of countryside of Gloucestershire. And if they stand in a certain area, they will get papped. And if they stand in another area, they won't be photographed at all if there happen to be photographers on the public road. So I feel any outdoor activity with the children, afternoon tea, playing in the beautiful gardens, organic vegetable patch, whatever, with Grandad, would have been done in an area where no one could see them, just to make sure there wasn't a picture.
Wow.
If there'd been any sort of wheeling or dealing behind the scenes to grab her, you know. I mean, that's the prize photograph, isn't it? Charles with his, grandchildren he hasn't seen for 4 years.
Yeah,
so.
it is very significant that there have been no photographs.
What's interesting isn't just that William remains silent. It's what that silence may represent. The royal family has long followed the principle of avoiding public disputes, believing that restraint often protects the institution better than emotional reactions. As the future king, William faces a unique challenge. Every public move is scrutinized, and even a brief meeting with Harry would likely dominate headlines around the world. By focusing on his royal duties instead, he may be signaling that the monarchy's long-term stability comes before personal relationships. At the same time, this ongoing distance highlights just how difficult reconciliation can be after years of highly public disagreements. Interviews, documentaries, and memoirs have all shaped public opinion, making trust much harder to rebuild behind the scenes. Of course, no one outside the family truly knows what conversations may be taking place in private.
I suppose the question now is, what does this mean for Harry? Where is this going to go? But I want to get your thoughts on what you made of Harry's behaviour in the lead up to this meeting.
Appalling.
There are reports that he was demanding accommodation and so on.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not the behaviour of someone who wants to rebuild trust with his family. So first of all, there was a whole absolute schmozzle about him staying at Buckingham Palace. He was offered the accommodation. He did not respond in time. But the way his team played it, allegedly, is that he said yes and then it was suddenly withdrawn, the offer. Now, this is not like checking into a hotel where you can summon room service. This is a Buckingham Palace, which is a working palace but is having significant renovations at the moment. So you can't just chop and change. They need time to bring staff in, to bring food in, security, everything else like that. And I think because of the way Harry was dilly-dallying, whether Meghan was part of the scene then I don't know, meant that offer was off the table. That became an issue. And then, of course, on the day that he was at Chatham House doing his terrific Invictus work, he got news that his action against male newspapers, of course, had all blown up and he'd lost the action. He was told that, I believe, just before he went on stage and looked, rather upset, as you would imagine. He then blasted that decision as a whitewash, which I also think was foolish because it's the decision of the court and the judge who basically said to him, you did not prove your case.
Yes.
End of story. Therefore, he'll be on the hook for some damages now and some legal expenses, I would imagine. So, yeah, that's not the sort of behaviour of someone who's going there, A, to plug Invictus ahead of the event next year in Birmingham, and B, hopefully to see his father. So his behaviour in the lead up to it, appalling.
And it'll be interesting to see what kind of...
Public silence doesn't always mean private hostility, but it also doesn't erase the perception that the brothers remain on very different paths. As Harry continues building a life outside the monarchy and William prepares for the responsibilities of the crown, their priorities appear increasingly different. Whether that gap eventually narrows remains one of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding the modern royal family. So, is Prince William's silence a calculated act of dignity, or is it a sign that the divide has become too deep to bridge? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy balanced royal analysis without the sensationalism,
costs he will be facing. There are reports that could be up to $20 million.
That's a lot of money.
But there are also reports that the king is said to be fed up with Prince Harry and some of the drama that just always kind of surrounds him. And what has also been fascinating to kind of observe is William's silence. I mean, there was no meeting or no even really acknowledgement from either party.
I see William's silence as a strategy in itself. It was something that was very effectively used by the Queen. She would say nothing except in an extreme situation where she would utter a comment about a situation. Recollections may vary. It's the classic one, of course, after Harry and Meghan did their Oprah interview. But William is sort of playing to what he's always done, which is say nothing and move on and be dignified. He said nothing after Oprah. He said nothing after Spare. And there was oodles of things that he could have commented on. And even all that, appalling narrative about who's the racist in the royal family. Is it Charles? Is it Catherine? All while, of course, both were battling cancer. He didn't go to war with his brother about that either. Maybe, Harry might have liked some to and fro. It would have made good content, wouldn't it, for their Netflix deal? But William has always been above the grain in that way and doesn't say anything because he is the future monarch. So Harry may have made baby steps in repairing his relationship with his father, but as far as William is concerned, absolutely no, that is still frozen solid.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. It seems like there are no signs there at the moment.